everyone, I'm Dan Casey, and welcome to today's episode of Nerdist News Talks Back. It's our weekly over-the-top talk show about all things pop culture, and thank you so much for joining us. On today's show, we're going to be talking about that episode of The Mandalorian. No, not that one. That one. You know the one I'm talking about. Plus, we're going to dive deep into Daredevil's possible return to the MCU, Thor Love and Thunder rumors, the Super Nintendo World theme park coming to Japan, and so much more. All of that plus some Batman and Harley Quinn trivia on today's Nerdist News Talks Back. But before we get to all of that, let's meet today's amazing panel. First up, she hosts the Download on Ven, Sabak the Block on the First Cut YouTube network, and she might be a Sailor Senshi in disguise. It's Emma Fyffe.
Hello.
I'm so happy that you're here, Emma. We're going to get into this in just a moment. We have a fun show today. All right, next up, he's a voice actor and a musician, and most recently he lent his Allspark to Optimus Prime in the World of Warships Transformers DLC. It's Jason Charles Miller.
Hello, thanks for having me today.
Of course, welcome, Jason. And last but not least, she's a very talented writer and comedian who's the head writer for the Troubled Waters podcast, and she's also quite possibly the #1 Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas stand in the Western Hemisphere. It's Riley Silverman.
Hello. Yeah, I would say worldwide, but I'm sure there's somebody in the Eastern Hemisphere who just has me schooled on it. So
I can't definitively rule until we go through the bracket. They are still hammering that out, but you will definitely meet them at the World Championship.
Yeah, I gotta find out who the Borgov of Emmett Otter fandom is, so I can face him off in a challenge somewhere.
Yes, just somewhere on a remote Fraggle Rock compound in the South Pacific. They are awaiting. All right. So, folks, let's get this show started with a little segment that we like to call, Should You Be Wearing a Mask This Week? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yes, you should.
I know this.
Yes, we're seeing a spike in cases still across the country, around the world. So please make sure that you're staying safe, doing the right thing, get a flu shot as we head into the holidays. Like, just take care of yourselves. Do something simple like wear a mask. It's simple. Be like the Mando. That is the way, and it should be your way as well. All right, moving right along. So over the weekend, and confirmed on Twitter this week, Square Enix unknowingly fulfilled a long-time dream that I didn't quite realize that I had. They are officially remastering the 1998 JRPG Saga Frontier, which was this bonkers, incredibly difficult game with multiple intersecting storylines, like 7 or 8 protagonists, and it was just severely underappreciated. Something that I think is super exciting news to at least myself and Emma. I think the only two people I know. But apart from that, my question to the panel is, in light of this news, which underappreciated game from your youth deserves a remaster? So Emma, let's start with you on this one.
Okay, well, outside of Saga Frontier, which obviously I am thrilled about, this is very specifically for me. I can go in deep on all the new stuff that we should expect to see. But as far as another title that is an underappreciated game from my youth that I personally think deserves a full-blown Final Fantasy VII style remake is Parasite Eve, baby.
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh,
God,
Parasite
yes.
Eve is so good. For me as a kid, it felt like Resident Evil for people who like to play RPGs, not shooting games, which is certainly me. The story is just so good, and it's about this like relationship between these two sisters, and the protagonist is a really interesting woman, and I really just want to see a full-blown remake of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm perpetually surprised when they don't do anything with that IP, because whenever I see people talk about it, no one's like, man, screw Parasite Eve. We hate that game. Everyone's like, bring it back, please. I would commit minor crimes for this.
Yeah.
They're just sitting on a veritable gold mine. I think that would do very well. Like, give us a PS5 version or something.
That's true.
That's a great pick. But Riley, what would your pick be?
All right. I don't know if mine 100% counts as underappreciated, but I'll say that at least within the Final Fantasy fandom, I feel like Final Fantasy VI, which was 3 to me, because I had Nintendo, I feel like it is vastly less appreciated than 7. And 7 is a great game. I really enjoy it. Sephiroth is great. But 3/6 was the game for me that like blew my mind as far as what storytelling could do in a video game. And as much as the Final Fantasy franchise has moved forward in this amazing era of awesome special effects and really cool graphics and stuff like that, I feel like that game, despite being on a cartridge for Super Nintendo, contained one of the biggest and most expansive and interesting stories of any Final Fantasy game. So I would love to see that game get a full also remake, because they have like released it later with like new cutscenes and updated animation, but it is such an amazing magical steampunk, like mage punk kind of world, and it has such a heartbreaking act twist that just is so fascinating. I would love to see them go ahead and just deep dive into that and give it another shot, give it a new era, new generation's love.
Yeah, also Kefka's warped little 16-bit laugh is just burned into my brain for all time.
Yeah.
And
And
also
Kefka's like one of the best villains of all time.
imagine
and his
like
theme.
yes, but also imagine the like 28 more steps it's going to take in a full-blown remake of Final Fantasy VI to get that opera up on its feet. Like,
Oh my
sign me
God.
up.
Yeah.
Sign me
People
up.
still cover that
Oh,
opera.
think about how awesome the like Death Train would look if you gave it like, a full render. How like it would suddenly
Now I
like,
have that music in my head.
into being like this horror survival moment where you have these ghosts on the train and then the heartbreak.
Mhm.
I like get giddy thinking about the things you could do it, and just the transition from the world of balance into the world of ruin played out over the course of it would. Sorry, I could talk the rest of this episode about this, so I'll stop.
I
there.
just
Let
don't
Jason-
know if the world is ready for Ultros in stunning 4K.
In HD.
But on that note, Jason, what would
For
your
me,
choice be?
It was the reason I bought a Sega Genesis, which was the game Phantasy Star 2. And they are remaking it, which is great. I think it's already released in Asia and it's coming out I think, next year in the US. Phantasy Star 2 was, I think, the first RPG where you started as one character, and then depending on who you married, then you played as their child. Depending on who you
Oh,
married, then you played as their child. So you could kind of replay it like,
dang.
I don't know, 9 different ways. There were like 9 different endings or something.
Yeah.
And it was fantasy, but it was also sci-fi, and you had cyborgs with you. And I don't know. I loved that game. I'm glad that we'll get to play it again.
Yeah,
That's
hell yeah. Give me that legacy content gameplay. I love seeing
Yeah.
that stuff. And even better that it's actually happening. Always nice when it's not just a pipe dream, but actually something that's going to come true.
Right.
Sticking in the realm of PlayStation era RPGs and like early RPGs as well, my choice would probably be any one of the Suikoden games, but specifically Suikoden 1 and 2.
I
If
was
you
going to say
love
2 for sure.
2 for
Both,
sure.
They go together. They,
Exactly. One feeds
Dan-
into the other. If you can only choose one, go Suikoden 2. You'll
Yeah.
gather what happens. You're a smart person. I trust you in the audience out there.
yeah.
But if you love recruiting characters, guess what? There's 108 characters for you to recruit in this
Yes.
RPG. One of the best mini games of all time with this Iron Chef style cooking mini game. I can't say enough good things
And
about
also
it.
the dice game, the
Yes.
the Chinchurran dice game. I made all my money playing that dice game.
Yeah, play that dice game for a while. Get yourself some potch, buy yourself some runes, have a great time, build your castle. It's the best.
It's
Let's see,
great.
in the audience, we have Kyle Matthews saying Starlancer, Amanda Nelson saying Carandia, and Iceman Matt saying Battlezone 2. All fantastic choices. I don't know why the first game I thought of is one that should not get remade, but it was Urgeist, the like Square Soft
Oh my
fighting
God. But maybe
But-
it should get remade.
And they remade.
I was almost
Shaft
gonna say
2.
Earthbound, but I feel like Earthbound's charm is in its goofy little animation style. It'd be really hard to take that charm of that game and update it to a new graphic system.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like the natural successor to Earthbound in that sort of off-kilter sense of humor is a game like Undertale, which, depending on how you feel about either, may or may not immediately turn you against me. But who knows? But speaking of video games, let's move on because Nintendo's Mario Kart Live, which, get to play Mario Kart in your house, that was apparently just the beginning of their plans to bring the Mushroom Kingdom to life in our world. Because while the world's amusement parks may be by and large closed due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, journalists at Universal Studios Japan and Osaka got their first look inside Super Nintendo World, which was first announced in 2015 and will officially open in February 2021. The US counterpart's currently under construction right now, now, but Bloomberg's Karuma Mori got a first-hand look at the Mario Kart attraction there called Koopa's Challenge. It's an on-rails experience where up to 4 people per cart race against other guests while wearing AR goggles. They can steer their carts, collect items, and throw shells at other carts on a track that takes you through a medley of levels, including the iconic Rainbow Road. So my question to the panel is, what are your thoughts on Super Nintendo World, and what do you want to see from this eventual theme park when it finally opens? Emma, let's start with you on this one.
Well, obviously, I have been very excited about Nintendo World ever since it was announced. The updates here, as far as the Mario Kart ride goes, are very exciting to me because, I mean, based on what I've seen, as you say, like it is definitely an on rails where it's almost like a dark ride where you're on a track, but then there is that AR component. So I think my fear was that it was like, if they were going to do a Mario Kart ride, it would be very much a just you sit in a car and you don't have either you sit in a car and it's all real and you have no control, or you sit in a car and it's all VR and you don't go anywhere. So I feel like this is the nice happy medium where you still keep the spirit of Mario Kart alive. I think for me, obviously, I'm very excited about all of the Mario stuff, but if you're calling it Super Nintendo World, okay, you gotta get some Legend of Zelda stuff in there. That's what I'm saying, you know, like just give me a forest that's a maze that you got to go through and you got to find items and smash pots and, you know, like the whole experience.
The gift shop is just full of ceramic pots, and you have to break them open to find your souvenir and then also pay for the pot that you broke. It's the perfect scheme.
Budget went towards pots this year.
Look, I appreciate that. I mean, that reminds me, a friend of mine did an art installation. He's a ceramicist and a potter, and he made a claw machine where you pick up a piece of ceramic, you pick up like a ceramic rose, then it drops it and just immediately shatters it. So anyway, maybe he's presaging this at the theme park there.
Maybe.
But Riley, what would you like to see from Super Nintendo World? Because they're apparently expanding it to include a Donkey Kong section as well, but what else would you like to see there eventually?
Well, I mean, Emma nailed it with Zelda. I want a Zelda World. So I think we're living in this golden age of theme park attractions that were everything I wanted to see as a child. So like everything that I wanted to live in as a kid now is available to walk. Well, you know, eventually is available to walk around in and live in. And I think the AR thing is definitely a huge part of it. I think being able to kind of have that mix of the real world element and like the video game element to it there would be great. I think maybe like seeing some Metroid stuff come in would be awesome, because you know we got to celebrate one of the original heroines of video games and her awesome alien. Like it'd be so fun to have a game kind of like the Buzz Lightyear action shooter game where you're on like a ship and like you know you're jumping out at aliens and shoot. That would be super. Like you got to like hunt down the mother brain. That would be a really awesome different thing to go for. So like, I'd be super into a Metroid section,
like the Men in Black ride in Florida.
Yeah.
See, I think they also just need some, like, if we're doing the throwback stuff too, they need just something simple, like a carnival style, like shooting gallery game, but just theme it after Duck Hunt and just like.
Oh, that's great! I mean,
yeah,
absolutely.
That's all I want to see.
But only if they have a snarky dog.
Of course, it's BYOD. You need to have a like registered service dog that will then mock you relentlessly. So train it at your own peril. But Jason, what about you? What would you like to eventually see from this?
I was all for the Mario Kart ride until the Rainbow Road was mentioned, and then I just started to get hives and I started to sweat because that, especially I think it was the N64 Rainbow Road that just. I still have nightmares about it to this day. And when I play Mario Kart 8 now, it's just not nearly as dangerous as it was. It's deadly. So hopefully they don't have any,
thankfully the folks at OSHA came in and realized that Rainbow Road needed guardrails because too many people out there with post-traumatic shell disorder. It was horrible.
Maybe they were the same people that were building the tractor beam controls on the Death Star and no guardrails anywhere.
There you go.
Exactly.
Contractors.
Yeah, you build one Death Star, it explodes. You need a new client because it doesn't look good for you, and you clearly left something open there. So, but we'll get to the galaxy far, far away in just a little bit. In the meantime, I want to take things to a different universe, specifically the Monsterverse. So, could the King of the Monsters and the Monarch of the Monkeys, or whatever we're going to call him, be heading from the big screen to our living room? Well, it certainly seems that way. In the wake of Wonder Woman 1984 simultaneously releasing in theaters and on HBO Max this December, Warner Brothers and Legendary's Godzilla vs. Kong could be the next blockbuster to head to a streaming service. And in the interest of full transparency, I just want to let everybody know, Legendary is Nerdist's cool corporate dad, but you know that we'll be talking about this cool MonsterVerse mayhem regardless, so let's move right along. So according to The Hollywood Reporter, Netflix offered more than $200 million for this highly anticipated sequel, but Warner Media reportedly blocked that move in favor of hashing out a strategy similar to Wonder Woman 1984, so they could do both a theatrical release and put it on a service like HBO Max. So my question to the panel is this the right move for a movie of this size, and what do you hope will happen in this sequel? So Jason, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be the contrarian here, but I was watching a recent monster movie. I won't say who or what it was, but it happened to be on TV, and I was watching it, and I was saying to myself, this is really about the theater experience, you know, with the explosions and just the grandiosity of, you know, monsters just ripping buildings apart or whatever. Look, we're in a different time now. We're in a different, you know, this is the reality we're living in. So I think it is a good move for you know what we're dealing with now. I just hope that one day we'll be able to experience it again as it's meant to be in the large theater. But
yeah, I do agree. I think with the MonsterVerse in particular, they are designed with so much spectacle in mind that it's really best suited for the big screen. But obviously, due to COVID-19, that's not a reality for many markets, especially New York and Los Angeles, two major markets in the United States where theaters have been closed for months and months. And I think that a hybrid release strategy like this is going to become increasingly common, especially as major movies like Wonder Woman 1984 adopt this strategy. But I can't help but wish I would go see this on like a drive-in. Maybe that'd be a happy medium or something, because I just want to see these two gigantic monsters beat the ever-loving crap out of each other on the biggest screen possible, and my living room might not get the job done. But do you think we're going to see more major movies skip the theater entirely? And are there specific movies you think would be better off holding out until theaters recover versus doing this digital strategy? Riley, let's go with you on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all nailed it that it's unfortunately the nature of the beast right now. It's not none of these companies ideally want their movies to be shown on the small screen. They all want them to be on the big screen. And a Godzilla Kong movie definitely deserves to be on the big screen. It is Godzilla versus King Kong. Like if there's ever a movie that you're pitching to be put on the big screen, it's this. Having said that, and I'm with Jason on that entirely. I don't think it's a contrarian take at all. I think that's 100% the right way to look at it. I saw Kong Skull Island on the back of an airplane seat. Like I saw that movie on a flight and I still loved it. So I think that as much as I would love, I'm such a huge fan of spectacle in theaters and I want these experiences. But I think, you know, at that same time, I also don't want these movies hidden away forever, so or people not getting a chance to see them, because what's also going to happen is it's going to be this weird situation where, because productions have also been delayed a lot, we're going to have this period of time once we finally get on the other side of this, where what's going to be in theaters then? And I think we'll maybe even have this strange, almost like year of like repertory screenings almost of recent films. So I think that even if it's coming out on a home screen now, it doesn't mean that in 6 months a theater might not be like, hey, come back to the theater and you can finally see this movie as the creators intended it. And people are like, oh, I love that movie. I want to see this monster fight on the big screen. Let's go do it. So I think there's a way to have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful that will be the case, because I would like, especially if it's a movie that I enjoy watching at home, like if I get the chance to see it on the big screen, I would happily take that once it's safe to do so. Because, you know, some of these films, like I want to, as much as as great as the fact is that you can watch Skull Island on the back of a plane seat, I'm sure Jordan Vogt Roberts wants people to see it on a slightly larger viewing surface. But honestly, however you get to enjoy this content at your comfort level is what's going to be best. But I'm curious, with Wonder Woman 1984, with Godzilla versus Kong, and also with a movie like Mulan, which Disney did their own experiment with that and seemed pleased with the results. Do you think that we're going to see other movies not from Warner Brothers, for example, like Black Widow, do something? Because with the Black Widow, I don't think that's a movie they would just drop on Disney Plus for free. I think that's something they would charge a premium for. And if so, is that $29.99 price point still the way to go? Or do you think they would go higher? Emma, what do you think about this?
I think they would still go with the $29.99 price point. I think Mulan was relatively successful going that route. And of course, Disney, obviously, as a company, recently announced their sort of refocus on creating new content for the streaming services. Now, granted, obviously, something like a Black Widow was not created for streaming, but it is very interesting when you kind of look at the parallel there of, okay, so Disney Plus, yes, you can, well, now I think starting December 6th, I think you just get Mulan with Disney Plus one way or another. But when Mulan initially released, it was hey, you can pay a premium, and as long as you have Disney Plus, you effectively own this movie. But with Wonder Woman, they're just dropping it on Christmas Day on HBO Max. So it's super interesting to see, if you have HBO Max, you just get this like tier A blockbuster film, and you don't have to pay any extra money for it. So I don't know. I think that, in regards to something like a Godzilla versus Kong, that it is a smart move on their part from the point of view of, rather than selling to Netflix, wherein you're basically committing yourself to this just being a streaming experience, as long as you're playing around with your Disney Pluses and your HBO Maxes and your streaming services that are specifically owned by what are historically film studios, then you set yourself up for this nice middle ground of, okay, cool. Well, this thing is going to be available to you to watch at home, or you can go watch it in the movie theater if movie theaters are open and it's safe for you to do so. Again, rather than going the Netflix route of maybe you get like a 1 month limited kind of theater screening situation just so you're eligible for Oscars.
Yes, Hubie Halloween coming to an Oscar ballot near you.
Also Godzilla versus Kong, clearly the odds-on favorite for Best Picture of the year.
Clearly, absolutely, yes.
Look, Kong, he really earned that Best Supporting Actor role. Just such a vibrant, poignant performance. But no, I think you raised some good points there, Emma. And I think with something like, it's interesting because Disney Plus, thanks to shows like The Mandalorian and having their significant library of IP that are just so dominant in the global popular culture, like Marvel, Star Wars, like any Disney movie, they have way more subscribers than a HBO Max or a Peacock or any of these newer services. So, I mean, HBO Max, it makes sense why they'd want this, because they really need to incentivize people to sign up and subscribe to their streaming platform. So I think with Wonder Woman, I believe it's on there for a limited time, but like you still get access to it as much as you want for that limited time. So it's definitely this like weird game of chicken.
And I don't have HBO Max, but am I going to sign up for HBO Max so I can watch Wonder Woman? Absolutely, yes.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think a lot of people realize that I don't know about your situation, Emma, but a lot of people don't realize that if they have HBO, they have HBO Max. Like if you have any HBO account, you can go on HBO Max site and log in. And a lot of people don't know that. So there are like, it helps because it might make people who don't realize they have this service go, oh, wait, I didn't know I had it until I desperately wanted to watch Harley and Ivy or Harley Quinn, I should say. And and someone was like, oh, you get it because you just log in. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I went and like plowed through it, and I never even I had it for like 3 months before I realized I could actually use it. So
yeah, they're not really doing a great job of letting people know that if you already have HBO, that you have everything on HBO Max. Like they should really step up that campaign, I'd say.
Yeah,
I mean, they made it as confusing as possible with the nomenclature. HBO Max, go now.
Yeah. And they definitely need to work out their deals with all the streaming devices so that people who, because I don't want to buy a new thing, so I don't partake in HBO Max as much as I want to because I have a Roku, and so I don't want to watch movies on my laptop screen. I want to watch it on my TV.
Yeah, and they just hammered out, that is another huge issue they need to overcome. They just hammered out a deal with Amazon Fire Stick, so they're able to be on the Fire Stick brand of product, but Roku still leaving a lot of folks high and dry when it comes to watching that sweet, sweet HBO Max content from the comfort of their own home.
It's pronounced Grogu, by the way. It's pronounced Grogu.
Oh, gotcha. I've been mispronouncing it like a fool this whole time. I've just been calling it Baby Fire Stick. So.
Baby Fire Stick.
But let's move on. We're still not at the galaxy far away yet. Almost there, folks. This Kessel Run's going to take a little while longer. First, we're going to take a pit stop at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is having admittedly a bit of a blip year in 2020. But that said, all eyes are on the future as rumors about films like Thor: Love and Thunder begin to swirl. Now, the Thor sequel is currently gearing up for production early next year in Australia, and it'll feature the return of Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, who this time will be wielding the mighty Mjolnir and taking on the powers of the mighty Thor herself. And an unnamed insider speaking to the Hollywood Reporter noted that it'll be like Avengers 5. Also, Taika Waititi made waves over the weekend when he posted a photograph of him and Idris Elba visiting the New Zealand All Blacks rugby team, which prompted fans to then speculate wildly if Heimdall is returning to the land of the living after getting extremely murdered by Thanos. So let's start off with that Avengers 5 comment. Is this going to be Avengers 5? Like, much how like Captain America Civil War kind of was that Avengers 2.5. We know that Star-Lord's going to be in this movie and Valkyrie, but who else do you want to see return? Emma, let's start with you here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I feel like if you're Taika Waititi, you've got a reputation for like really handling a nice ensemble sort of cast situation. If we can just bring back everyone from Thor Ragnarok, like give me Jeff Goldblum again. It's like, it doesn't matter if you've previously been murdered or disappeared or snapped away. It doesn't matter. There are no rules anymore. Just come back. It's soap opera territory now. Everybody's got secret evil twins. I think that for me, the Avengers 5 thing would make me a little bit hesitant of like, okay, come on. Like we just got done with all the big crossover-y kind of stuff. But it's Taika and I like his sense of humor and again, like the way he handles an ensemble cast. So I think that, I'm for whatever this ride is going to be. And I'm very looking forward to Jane Foster Thor.
Yeah, I mean, we know there's going to be some sort of deadly enemy for them to fight if it requires two Thors to defeat it. So that is going to be something that might require an Avengers-esque cast, but ultimately relies on the power of these two Thors who have proved themselves worthy. I see someone in the chat, Kyle Matthews, saying, give us Beta Ray Bill and Gore the God Butcher. Gore the God Butcher is the character that, what's his name? Michael, oh my God, Batman. Oh, British guy. Welsh.
Oh, no. Oh,
not Michael Keaton.
No, Michael Caine.
No. Oh, my Christian Bale. Oh my God. Why does Michael? Any Christian Bale. Sorry, my brain came to a screeching halt.
Well, that is on you a little bit. I'm just gonna say.
Gore the Brain Butcher over here. Anyway, Christian Bale rumored to be playing Gore the God Butcher from Jason Aaron's run of the comics. But speaking of unexpected characters who maybe aren't that unexpected, I just love this bit of detail. Vin Diesel, everyone's favorite Fast and Furious person, and my old D&D buddy Vin Diesel told USA Today that a new version of Groot is on the way, specifically an Alpha Groot.
Ooh.
The Groot that we're going to is Alpha Groot. You're going to lose your mind when you see Alpha Groot. So my question, Jason, to you is, what is an Alpha Groot? Please, what could this be?
Well, I think in the comics, he could grow to like, 23 feet tall and I don't know how many pounds. So maybe we're just going to see like giant, we're going to see
Sequoia Groot.
It'll be King Kong versus Godzilla versus Groot. I mean, who knows?
Amazing.
I would pay good money to see that, but I do not believe my boy Groot would last in that battle very long.
Probably not, especially with the fire element. I mean, it would be interesting. I mean, it would be kind of ridiculous, but also ridiculous fun to see I think I read somewhere that he's actually doing the motion capture. So is this going to be like a Vin Diesel, like literally, jacked Groot?
I mean, I think he do the motion capture in the first one as well. In the original Guardians, or did he just provide the voice? I might be misremembering.
Just provided the voice.
Gotcha. Well, this time, look, it's going to be a very beefy Groot this time around.
Space Dominic Toretto before Dominic Toretto actually goes to space.
Yes, this is how he gets there. He's going to high five himself.
Maybe Riddick will show up. I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
I will say the Riddick movies underrated movies. They're more fun than we give them credit for. Let's see. The Chocolate Channel says, "Give me Champion of the Universe." Iceman Matt says, "Gonna throw someone out there. How about a Deadpool moment in Thor 4?"
That
Look,
wouldn't
anything's
surprise
possible.
me. That
Mhm.
would
Yeah.
not surprise me if we saw Deadpool, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, with the rumors,
Yeah.
especially that like they're finalizing a deal on it, I think it wouldn't shock me at all to have that lean in a little bit.
Even if he just walks past in the background, looks at camera, then slowly backs out of frame. It can just be
Yes!
a nice
Like,
little
That's what I
small
want.
moment there.
Oh, wrong
That's
movie.
all I
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
But Riley, I want to get your take on the rumors about Idris Elba and Heimdall returning from beyond the grave. What do you think about those, and what do you want to see from Thor: Love and Thunder?
Well, I think the Heimdall thing could be a misdirect. I think that it's really easy to bring back dead characters in flashback moments. Like if there's something that Thor is struggling with, and he remembers a thing Heimdall told him, like or like they cut to a scene. We've definitely seen plenty of times in the MCU now. We've kind of cut back to older characters at previous times. Like I mean, the various versions of Papa Stark. So I think that like I'm not going to get my hopes up that Heimdall's being resurrected, but we can see what's going to happen. I'm kind of trying really hard to keep my expectations for this movie like nebulous. I love the name Love and Thunder, and so I'm already sold. Knowing that it's Love and Thunder, I want to see Queer Valkyrie and I want to see Jane Foster Thor, and that's all I need to know about it. And I'm with Emma that I don't really want it to be Avengers 5. I kind of want any crossover elements to be similar to Bruce Banner showing up in Iron Man 3, where it's kind of a quick gag. I don't mind the establishment if we're in a shared universe. So if the movie begins with like Thor on the ship with the Guardians and then goes off on his own mission, I would rather have that than have like a full-on Thor and Guardians team-up movie, because I'd rather that be its own thing. I'd rather have a later movie that's because this one, I feel like Thor Ragnarok really finally nailed the tone of what a Thor movie should be in the MCU. I think it's when they really realized how funny Chris Hemsworth is and how great, like how adding the humor of the character into the role as a character and not just the dichotomy and like in the first Thor, it's all funny stuff like, oh, he doesn't understand that you can't just throw your drinks down in restaurants and gags like that, the fish out of water stuff. But Thor is naturally a very charming and funny character in these movies. So I just want to see a movie that allows that to continue and grow. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and I do agree. I think we're just going to see like the Guardians just drop Thor off on a planet and be like, all right,
Yeah.
you're eating all our
Seven,
snacks.
so have fun.
Yeah.
Get some quarters
All
for
right.
the arcade.
Exactly. Well, let's leave the Avengers behind in all their forms and move on to the Defenders, because speaking of characters who are no longer with us, Matt Murdock. The Charlie Cox starring Daredevil Netflix series ended its 3-season run in November 2018, and it's regarded as one of the best of the Netflix Marvel franchises. On Sunday, the rights to Daredevil officially reverted back to Marvel, and now they're free to bring old Hornhead back into the proverbial fold. And in the wake of this news, the hashtag Save Daredevil began trending on Twitter as fans desperately pleaded with Marvel Studios to bring the Man Without Fear into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So my question to the panel is, do you want to see Daredevil in the MCU? Is now the right time for him? Is it overstuffed? Should he appear in a movie, maybe as Peter Parker's lawyer or something? Or should we save him for a Disney Plus series a few years down the line? And Jason, let's start with you on this one.
I feel like bring him back now. You know, bring back the whole cast. That ensemble was so great. And I mean, I'm slightly biased because I'm friends with Deborah Ann Wall, but I still think that the show was great. Oh yeah, and I went to elementary school with the season 3 showrunner.
Eric Olsen
to that show. Eric Olsen, yeah. We've known each other since we were both like 6 years old. But anyway, bring back that whole team, because if you wait a few years, they'll recast it, and I want to keep that magic of that team.
Yeah, and I mean, look, you've got the Multiverse of Madness coming up. You have J.K. Simmons back as J. Jonah Jameson. You have Jamie Foxx coming back as Elektra. Who's to say you can't bring back familiar faces? But is this the right way to go? Should they retread familiar ground? Should that earlier stuff be considered canon? Or do we just keep some of these same actors and trudge forward with like a new story like none of that ever happened? Emma, what do you think?
I think you make it okay, because this is the thing about the Netflix series is they always danced the line of MCU canon. You know what I mean? Because I remember, for example, in the first season of Jessica Jones, and I believe in Daredevil as well, they very specifically reference like an event that happened in New York where all these buildings got destroyed. So like, so they've always kind of lived in this nebulous, almost canon world. My only regret then, and like no offense to Trisha and Hellcat and stuff, but it does make me sad that like Carol Danvers couldn't be the friend of Jessica Jones, because that's who her friend is in Alias, the comic that Jessica Jones is based on. But I say just make them canon, like find a way where, and you don't have to like make them so canon that you have to have watched every single bit of Netflix material in order to understand what's going on. But I think you can incorporate the character of Matt Murdock. I love the idea of him showing up as Peter Parker or somebody's lawyer. Heck, let him be Thor's lawyer. You know, I mean, maybe you need a cosmic space lawyer, and Matt Murdock's the man for the job. But I really am such a big fan of Charlie Cox's portrayal of that character. Again, that whole cast is fantastic. And I think that just finding ways to incorporate them, be it into the films, or if they show up in, say, like the Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or, you know, Captain America and Falcon stories, you know, it's just like there's so many TV shows. There's so much that Marvel is doing with that IP right now in terms of on-screen kind of storytelling, that I think you could very easily just incorporate them, accept that everything that's happened so far is canon. There's nothing in there, as far as I can recall, that's very specifically contradictory. So just but please have the same people play those characters, because I don't want this to be like a DC situation where it's like you've got all these years of the Flash TV show that people really like, and then they're like, well, we're just not going to have Grant Gustin be the Flash. And you're like, okay, cool. So these, what?
The only thing I'd be okay with is if they were like, remember when we all hallucinated that guy from Game of Thrones as Iron Fist? That was a weird time. The gas leak. Crazy season. Let's see. Rex Gray in the chat says, I want to see Spidey go against D'Onofrio's Kingpin, which would just be fantastic. Vincent D'Onofrio did a terrific job bringing Kingpin to life on the small screen. He was so good. And John Embry, I really like this, would love to see a cameo in the She-Hulk series. I would venture that Matt could even be a recurring character. But Riley, what do you think about this?
I'm really torn on it, because I agree with everybody that I love these casts so much. And I love Charlie Cox as Daredevil, but I love Kristen Ritter so much, Jessica Jones. And I think each of those shows, well, 3 out of the 4 shows had a perfect season. And then, 2 out of the 4 shows had a perfect season. One of them had half of a great season and half of a great season separated, and the other one was Iron Fist. But because there was that weird schism that happened in our world between Marvel Pictures and Marvel Television, where a universe that felt like it was connected kind of veered off into like its own, almost like an Ultimates universe and like a 616 kind of thing happening. It's going to be hard for me to rectify like the fact that none of the snaps seem to have happened in the MCU show, the Netflix shows. So I'm hesitant to. I think that Daredevil seasons 1 and 3 were phenomenal. Some of the best like storytelling you could possibly get. Jessica Jones season 1 was so good. I'm a little scared of trying to now like Frankenstein it back into the MCU and like ruining what was so perfect. So I'm torn between I love all these people and I want them all to keep working, and I think that you have perfect television that you don't want to ruin. So I'm really torn on it, and I almost would like to maybe, kind of like what Emma said, where you can maybe reintroduce these actors as these characters in the MCU and just find a way to write it so you can or cannot accept what happened in the other shows as like you don't need to have watched any of Daredevil seasons 1, 2, and 3 to get the Charlie Cox MCU Daredevil. But that's like a complete non-committal answer that I just went through.
Well, no, I think you do raise some valid points there. Like it's a real concern, because you don't want to just rest on your laurels. And you know, the MCU has never shied away from recasting or moving forward on their own terms, or even Frankenstein together stuff that they like cherry picking different elements.
And also, you have to bear in mind as well that you're in this weird area with all of these Netflix shows in particular that they were very mature. They were for a mature audience. And so something like that is not going to be able to live on a Disney Plus. So I do think that, again, the only way that you continue on with these characters is to kind of use them sparingly as accessories to other things. It is possible that they could do a full-blown story with these characters again. Again, they own the rights to them, but I'm with Riley of Daredevil seasons 1 and 3 are outstanding, and you don't really want to mess with that. You don't want to put Matt Murdock into a world where it doesn't mean that you can't tell mature stories, but you know, your average audience sort of target demo, I think, for a Disney Plus show is 12-year-olds. Now, you treat 12-year-olds like they're very intelligent, but it's family friendly.
Yeah, there's a level of trauma in Bullseye's background, especially in season 3 of Daredevil, that I think would be really hard to translate to an MCU audience. I wonder if Hulu is the happy medium. I wonder if taking these shows and making like a darker Hulu level content is the way to go with it, but I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like their dance card is so full right now. They might have something in development or planned for down the line, but I wouldn't expect to see that until probably phase 5 or 6 at the earliest. So only time will tell. But let's keep things in the realm of Disney Plus, because I want to make sure we get to this. Folks, sweet galloping Grogu, what an episode! Mandalorian that was. I tell you, last Friday's episode of The Mandalorian, chapter 13, The Jedi, is being hailed as one of these series' best episodes. Now, spoiler alert for anyone who's not watched this episode yet, because we are about to spoil everything in it. And this episode had so many major reveals. Baby Yoda's real name, the first live-action appearance of Ahsoka Tano, Michael Biehn, and 3 words that could change the future of Star Wars as we know it, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, we'll get into all of that in just a moment, but let's start with the Togruta in the room, Ahsoka Tano. And while many Star Wars fans were delighted to see Ahsoka Tano in the flesh, others were disappointed by Rosario Dawson's casting. Last year, Dawson and her family were sued over an alleged transphobic assault, and Dawson spoke to Vanity Fair about this case, which is still ongoing, but even so, allegations like these can make it difficult to separate the art from the artist for many fans out there. Now, we here at Nerdist believe the galaxy far, far away has and always will be for everyone and anyone, and that said, today's discussion will mostly focus on the content of the episode rather than the circumstances surrounding it, but wanted to make sure that we mentioned that before we dove into it. So let's get into the episode. What were your overall reactions to The Jedi? What were your overall reactions to this episode? Riley, let's start with you.
Well, I think, like you just said, as a trans person myself, I can't speak on the veracity of the case. I can't. Also, this is not the place for that. So I struggled at first with my mixed feelings about it because of that. I think that I enjoyed the episode more when I kind of got past my initial viewing and was able to dive into it again a second time and kind of be able to process my complicated emotions around it. Ahsoka Tano is a character that means a significant amount to me. She's really, really important to me. I've written a lot about her and about how I think that she's the best Jedi at being a Jedi, and everyone who says she's not a Jedi, Dave Filoni is in quotes now saying the exact thing that I say about it. So I was excited to see Ahsoka in live action. I thought this episode really did a great job of the marrying of like the biggerness of the Star Wars universe. Sorry, Discovery's back too. I have a lot of Star in my head. Of marrying the like bigger universe elements of Star Wars with the very smaller versions of stories that Mandalorian is so good at telling. So having this episode that is such a mind-blowing lore expansion, but also this very small Kurosawa-style samurai story happening at the exact same time. Very limited set, very limited cast. There's not a whole, like, it's such an achievement in storytelling that despite my personal misgivings, I can objectively say that I think it's the best episode of the series so far. And it took me a while to connect this version of Ahsoka with the Ahsoka that I know and love. But now that I've like taken some space back, I actually had to go back and revisit. I had to rewatch Phantom Apprentice from the end of Clone Wars. I had to rewatch Twilight the Apprentice from Rebels, and then watch this episode again to really kind of like see the through lines that I needed to see between the animated Ahsoka that I love and this live action version of her. She'll never be my Ahsoka. I'll put that out there. Like the animated series Ahsoka is my Ahsoka. That's the heart of the Ahsoka character for me. But this was a lovely way to revisit the character, and it's really fascinating to see where she is from here. And I'd like to see more of her in other media.
Yeah, and I think that's great, especially because there are so many different shades of Ahsoka as we see in her journey from Clone Wars to Rebels to now this kind of like person who's been through so much in the galaxy far, far away. We get these different aspects of her, and the nice thing is we can also watch the animated stuff on Disney Plus as well, just a couple
Yeah.
button clicks away. But Jason, what were your thoughts on Ahsoka's appearance in this episode? Like, what about this episode stood out to you?
The number one moment of the whole episode was when she refers to another one of his kind, and they actually played just for a moment Yoda's theme. I don't know, like, and you almost, you have to really be paying attention to hear it, but that just, whoa, that like flowed through me for sure. But what I would like to say is, in classic, in keeping of the tradition of how Lucas named all of his characters, Grogu is basically Goo Goo. He's a baby. Babies say Goo Goo, so his name is Grogu. I mean, like, you can't get any more Lucas than that.
See, I thought Grogu was just Star Wars for George. That's
Okay.
how I parsed it. Now, there's an interesting quote. Dave Filoni was speaking with Vanity Fair. He said, "The name has been around for a while. Jon Favreau told me early on in season 1 what it would be, which made me start to think about how people could learn the name. This gave me the idea that Ahsoka, who's very compassionate, would be able to connect with the child, and that without words, they could probably communicate through memories and experiences. Through that connection, she learns the name and then tells Mando and the audience." So, Emma, what were your thoughts on that reveal, learning this, like, crucial piece of Baby Yoda lore? I mean, he's always going to be Baby Yoda to me.
Of course.
But what were your thoughts about how they doled this out?
I think the way that they introduced it was really, really smart. It made sense to me that, just based on my understanding of the character of Ahsoka Tano, who, again, like, I've watched her whole journey throughout Clone Wars, Rebels, Clone Wars again. So it made sense to me that she would be able to communicate with the baby. And it didn't even cross my mind until she said his name that, she might actually find out what his real name is. And so it was really like, it was a really beautiful surprise to me, I think is what I'm trying to say. Basically, that whole interaction where she's trying to get the baby to pass the rock back to her with the Force, and then Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, steps in and he's got the little bauble from the top of the lever in his in the Razor Crest. That was such a great moment because, again, like, it was really masterful storytelling where they were leaving the ship. He was like, "This has to stay on the ship," and he just like sticks in his pocket, and then there's the back and forth. So I knew it was going to happen, but they set it up so well. I mean, I just want to echo a little bit of what Riley was saying. I think that the design of the character of Ahsoka in this episode was absolutely incredible. She looked amazing. As far as her actual performance and seeing the character on screen, it was not even remotely as exciting for me as seeing Katie Sackhoff play Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
Seeing Katie, who has been Bo-Katan for forever, bring that character to life, she was just so perfect. And I felt like, even though, and of course, some of the personal allegations and such are certainly coloring my opinion of this as well. I can't divorce myself from that. I can't unknow what I know or unread what I've read. But I found Rosario Dawson's performance to be a little low energy. And I think that, sure, it makes sense that as far as where Ahsoka is in her journey, again, this is after Star Wars Rebels. The last we've really seen her is like her showing up to Sabine at the end of Star Wars Rebels, and she's got the cloak on, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it made sense, but it just like, I don't know. I wanted that spark and that energy of the character of Ahsoka, and I just didn't really feel that. But that being said, I think it was an incredibly well done episode, and the fight between her and the magistrate at the end of the episode was so good.
That was an amazing.
Yeah, someone on Twitter posted a GIF next to that fight scene from Princess Mononoke, where you have
Lady
Princess
Eboshi
Mononoke
and
fighting Lady
San.
Eboshi, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" But yeah, like major Kurosawa vibes. Like in those moments, like when she was using the lightsabers to just pop up and like murk those guys in the swamp and then disappear into the mists. That stuff was just awesome. That's like that's what I love about The Mandalorian. It reminds me why I love Star Wars, because it's become such a fractious place in recent years, but it's this definitely sort of brought me back into the fold in a major way. And you know, seeing those moments, like seeing Dad Jaren play catch with his new son Grogu, it was so lovely. But yeah, I one thing I want to touch on before we wind down is those 3 words that every Star Wars fan loves to hear: Grand Admiral Thrawn. So can someone in the panel give the viewers a little bit of chistery about who this character is, and maybe why this is so important to the future of Star Wars?
It seems like Emma wants to jump on
that. Grand Admiral Thrawn is a character that was originally introduced in what is now considered to be Star Wars Legends, originally called the Expanded Universe. In the Timothy Zahn novels, he was the primary antagonist in his original trilogy. He has since been reintroduced into Star Wars and was one of the main villains in Star Wars Rebels. He came around in Star Wars Rebels season 3, I want to say. He is a Chiss. He is from the unknown regions, so he is a blue guy with red eyes. He also is incredibly intelligent. He's a very like sort of ruthlessly tactical kind of guy, and the way that he obtains all of his information about people so that he can really get in their heads and use that against them is by collecting artifacts from their cultures. The last we knew of Grand Admiral Thrawn, according to Star Wars Rebels, he had been spirited off into the wild regions by space whales.
We've all been there. Folks, how many times has this ever happened to you? Space whales?
Yeah.
In my sector?
He was an Imperial officer, and he and Vader in some of the like Thrawn novels and stuff definitely got into it a couple of times. And he also has a little bit of history with Anakin Skywalker, who he maybe knows is Darth Vader. A little unclear.
So I should also point out too that in Rebels he was spirited away not only by space whales but with Ezra Bridger, who is the Jedi protagonist of Rebels. So looking for Thrawn is also in a way looking for Ezra Bridger, and that's also why I think Rebels fans are like, wait, if Thrawn's still out there, is Ezra still out there? What's going to happen?
So do we think that we're going to maybe get an Ahsoka Tano spin-off series where she is on the hunt for Thrawn and Ezra?
If we get that, I hope it's animated. I'm kind of with Emma on the like acting differences between the animated Ahsoka and like Rosario's energy level as the live action one. But I'm also a little less in love with the design. And I think that what I'm learning is that like some of the limitations on like the Togruta, like Leku and Montrals, I feel are more limited in a live action version. And so I feel like in order to have a show that focuses on Ahsoka, I'd rather it go back to the animated version where I feel like it serves her better as a character.
Yeah. And if they were going to go live action, then like we need Tia to come back and play Sabine.
And
I still think she's going to be on this season of The Mandalorian.
As soon as I finished watching the episode and went online, I already saw a blue Benedict Cumberbatch.
Who did I? Oh, I saw somebody suggest Hugh Grant.
Oh, that'd be a good one too.
I was like,
Look, that would be phenomenal. And look, he's having a moment again thanks to The Undoing. And if you haven't seen Paddington 2, perhaps his finest work.
Paddington 2.
I'm just going to put that out there.
I mean, he was actually nominated for Academy Awards for Paddington 2.
Because that movie deserved the Oscars.
Wow.
It has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, y'all. If you've never seen Paddington 2,
it should
actually,
have
you should
200%.
You should watch both Paddingtons. They are both outstanding.
Especially in a nightmare year like this, they are the antidote that I think we could all use.
Yep.
All right. So, folks, we did it. We're done with the news. Grogu is safe and sound at home. Now it's time for some good old-fashioned Nerdist News trivia.
Okay.
Now, we here at the Nerdist News Talks Back Institute for the Trivial Arts, we like to connect our trivia to the barest of threads. So given that today is Kevin Conroy and Kaylee Cuoco's birthday, we're going to do some Batman and Harley Quinn trivia to celebrate, as well as some random trivia about the birthday folks themselves. So don't complain to me, complain to our producer, Adam, who assembled these mighty nuggets of knowledge.
Oh, Adam, we'll have words.
Yes. And those words will be A, B, C, or D, true or false. All right. Question number 1. Do we all have writing utensils, something to write with?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Ready.
So in the episode titled Pretty Poison, it's revealed that Poison Ivy is engaged to a significant character in the Batman universe. Who was Pamela Isley engaged to? Is it A, Harvey Dent, B, Carmine Falcone, C, Harleen Quinzel, or D, Oswald Cobblepot? I believe this is Batman the Animated Series, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
In the episode, yes, in the BTAS episode, Pretty Poison, it's revealed that Poison Ivy is engaged to a significant character in the Batman universe, but who was she engaged to? A, Harvey Dent, B, Carmine Falcone, C, Harleen Quinzel, or D, Oswald Cobblepot?
Okay.
All right. Do we have our answers, folks?
I wrote down a letter.
That's all I need. Let's see that letter.
Okay. I said D, Oswald Cobblepot. I don't know if that's right, but that's what I wrote.
Okay. Jason, what'd you write there? I can't see.
Harvey Dent.
The answer is in fact Harvey Dent. I believe in Harvey.
I
In
had
the episode,
because I was like, Falcone is such a minor character. Why would he be in this list unless he was the answer? But
I know. I almost put that too, Riley, because of the exact same reason.
classic misdirection. So in this episode, Poison Ivy gets revenge on Harvey by poisoning him for digging up acres of wild plants to build a new prison in Gotham. And she's right. Less prisons, more flowers.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 2. Dr. Harleen Quinzel has a PhD in psychiatry, but she also used to be what? A professional mime, B, a collegiate gymnast, C, a ballerina, or D, a ventriloquist? So Dr. Harleen Quinzel has a PhD in psychiatry, but she also used to be what? Is it A, a professional mime, B, a collegiate gymnast, C, a ballerina, or D, a ventriloquist? All right, let's see those answers, folks.
Okay. I put B, a
I put
gymnast.
B. It's getting lost in my
Okay.
my virtual background. There we go.
The answer is in fact B, a collegiate gymnast. In the comics and in the animated Harley Quinn series, she's revealed to be a collegiate level gymnast. So
Yeah.
I think in Birds of Prey as well, because I think she punches out.
Yeah. I think she talks about that in her like biography of herself at the beginning of the movie.
it does. It's just an easy way to explain all of her incredible acrobatics.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 3, true or false? During his time at Juilliard, Kevin Conroy was roommates with Kelsey Grammer and Robin Williams. True or false? During his time at Juilliard, Kevin Conroy was roommates with Kelsey Grammer and Robin Williams. All right. Do we have our answers?
Yes.
I'm saying
true.
There we go.
Okay. The answer is true.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why did you think together?
Unbelievable.
Triple bunk beds. Just triple bunk beds.
Wow.
I feel like I knew that. Like I feel like I've heard that before.
Yeah, but it's also one of those things that sound like I would definitely second guess myself because it sounds true.
I second guessed myself because I was like, I know it's true of someone, but I just don't know if that someone is Kevin Conroy.
Yes.
It's one of those things where it's just clever enough that if it was false, I'd be like, yeah, Adam would think of something like that. That's like
Yeah.
All right. Question number 4. In the episode The Man Who Killed Batman, a low-level thug accidentally kills Batman. And what was that thug's name? Is it A, Joey Electric, B, Frankie Fish, C, Tony Meatballs, or D, Sid the Squid? So in the episode The Man Who Killed Batman, a low-level thug accidentally kills Batman. What was that thug's name? Was it Joey Electric, A, B, Frankie Fish, C, Tony Meatballs, or D, Sid the Squid? All right, you got your answers?
Yeah.
All right.
I want it to be Sid.
I got B.
I want it to be Tony Meatballs.
I think Tony Meatballs is a real life mobster, isn't he? Like
You are correct, Riley, because the answer is D, Sid the Squid. Joey Electric and Tony Meatballs are real nicknames of Philadelphia crime bosses who were arrested earlier this month.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Why I didn't think that was the answer.
I'm happy to be wrong.
Tony Meatballs was trending on Twitter earlier this month.
Tony Meatballs.
Yeah, he got busted when Gritty turned states. Turned states evidence on him. All right.
Please, no,
Question
Narc,
number
don't say that.
5.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Gritty, you're no snitch. Question number 5. True or false? Paul Dini got the inspiration for Harley Quinn after watching Days of Our Lives. True or false? Paul Dini got the inspiration for Harley Quinn after watching Days of Our Lives. All right, let's see those answers, folks.
I put F.
I put false.
You are all wrong. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
It's
really?
true. Paul Dini is friends with Arlene
Jeez.
Sorkin, the original voice of Harley
Right.
Quinn, and she was on an episode of Days of Our Lives in a dream sequence where she was dressed as a jester, and thus history was made.
Oh,
But I'd
that's
say my thought process
really
was that it's
interesting.
going to be like a different, like it was going to
Soap
be like,
opera,
technically it was-
same.
No, it was
General
General Hospital.
which would make sense for Harley Quinn. But sorry,
Exactly.
Oh.
Question number 6.
Okay,
Over
okay.
150 actors auditioned for Batman before they chose Kevin Conroy, but who was the original choice to be the voice of Harvey Dent? Was it A, Tim Curry, B, Ron Perlman, C, Billy D. Williams, or D, Al Pacino? So over 150 actors auditioned for Batman before they chose Kevin Conroy, but who was the original choice to be the voice of Harvey Dent? Is it A, Tim Curry, B, Ron Perlman, C, Billy D. Williams, or D, Al Pacino? All right, do we have our answers?
Yes.
Got a B, a C, and as much as I would love to hear Ron Perlman or Billy D, the answer was Al Pacino. So
Wow.
Al Pacino was the
Oh.
original choice for the showrunners, but Pacino declined and then went on to dance and rap in the Dunkachino scene from Jack and Jill. That's
Wait.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for that. No mention of the Irishman or literally anything else, but an inspired
But Jack
piece
and
of
Jill,
cinema.
yeah,
Yes.
really,
No.
really
He did-
important cinema.
He's not wrong, and that's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
he was too busy in big boy makeup for Dick Tracy. He didn't have time to be doing voice work.
Yeah.
What a I wonder if he would have rather have done Harvey Dent in hindsight.
Nick Lipton would have. Yeah.
All right, question number 7. Harvey and Ivy are a lot of things. A criminal duo, a sometimes couple, but which of these also applies to their relationship? A, they once worked as a traveling circus act. B, they were a folk duo. C, they got married on a gambling boat. Or D, their dodgeball team was called the Rathleen Hepburns. So Harley and Ivy are a lot of things. They're a criminal duo, a sometimes couple, but which of these also applies to their relationship? A, they once worked as a traveling circus act. B, they were a folk singing duo. C, they got married on a gambling riverboat. D, their dodgeball team is called the Rathleen Hepburns. All right, let's see those.
I went with B. They're a folk duo.
I want B because I just love the good name.
Well, it is a good name, but the answer is in fact B. They were a folk duo. In the comic
I didn't know it.
Elseworlds 80-page giant rockumentary, Harley and Ivy were a folk music duo working for record producer Lex Luthor. The comic was
Whoa.
not successful. It was withdrawn and destroyed after only 2,000 copies were distributed throughout the UK.
Yikes.
Wow.
Dang.
Yeah,
Lex
Yeah,
Luthor
they-
as a record producer, that totally tracks. Actually.
that's
Yeah.
I like that. That's a
Yeah.
slick Elseworlds
Yeah.
Record company
modification.
president, I think, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, question number 8. True or false? The pilot for Batman the Animated Series was 2 minutes long. True or false? The pilot for Batman the Animated Series was 2 minutes long.
Yeah, I'm also saying true.
Yeah, I'm saying true.
You're all correct. It's true. The
Yeah.
pilot that Paul Dini and Bruce Timm presented was 1 minute and 51 seconds long, then retooled into being the intro of the show.
That's what I guessed. I figured probably an animation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it makes sense. That intro is so
Yeah.
iconic. It's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
All right. Question number 9. Which neighborhood in Brooklyn is Harley Quinn from? Is it A, Crown Heights, B, Bensonhurst, C, Williamsburg, or D, Bushwick? What neighborhood in Brooklyn is Harley Quinn from? Is it A, Crown Heights, B, Bensonhurst, C, Williamsburg, or D, Bushwick?
I'm saying A.
Okay,
Oh,
the answer
B.
is B, Bensonhurst.
Woo!
So in
I'm
season
crushing
1,
it.
episode 10 of the
Yeah,
Harley
you're
Quinn
doing it.
series titled Bensonhurst, she returns home to visit her family and ends up fighting off contract killers.
This is like a weird recess in the back of my brain opening up from watching the show as a child. So
Yeah, it's just buried in there. All right, question number 10, the last question. True or false, Kevin Conroy was in a made-for-TV version of A Midsummer Night's Dream. True or false, Kevin Conroy was in a made-for-TV version of A Midsummer Night's Dream. I'll give you a bonus point if you can tell me if he played a character in this and if there was another person in this.
I'm gonna go with true.
The answer is true.
Yeah, the
Okay.
bonus point kind of gave away the answer.
Yeah.
This is my shit. I should have waited. I got so excited. He played Lysander in a 1982 adaptation of the play and acted alongside Christine Baranski.
That's
Wow.
fantastic. I'm going to track this down immediately.
Yes, I'm sure it's on
I love-
YouTube somewhere.
I love the idea
All
of
right,
false
and
people
our
right
bat computer is currently tabulating
Ooh.
the results, and the results are in. Emma, you are our
Yay!
winner. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Your
As it should
crown,
be.
Roy, is in the mail. And now it's time for your 30-second soapbox. It's your chance to get whatever's on your chest off your chest. Talk about anything you feel like talking about. So,
Yeah.
Emma, as our winner, you are up first. What do you have for us?
Okay, so I've been really obsessed with Greek mythology lately, and I recently realized yesterday specifically that Dionysus, in addition to being the god of wine and basically everything fun and debaucherous, is also the god of fruits and vegetables, which I choose to believe is about living a balanced lifestyle rather than the fact that most of that alcohol is distilled from fruits and vegetables. Also, be sure to watch the download on Ven, twitch.tv/watchven, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. It's really fun. We talk about video game news and other pop culture news, and we play video games. Sometimes we have musical guests. It's a good old time, so you should totally watch it.
Fantastic. I love that fact so much. Please watch the download, but also like, oh my God, the Bloody Mary makes so much more sense now. It's all
Right?
coming together.
Yep, exactly.
Oh
You
my
gotta
goodness.
have the vegetables and the
Yes.
fruit. You know,
Yeah.
eat your broccoli, but also enjoy your
But
wine.
also, it'll take the edge off your hangover.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, Riley, you're up next.
I think my soapbox moment is going to be that a lot of small businesses are hurting really bad this year with all the shutdowns and stuff like that, especially people who made crafts and things that they would sell at cons. So if you're looking for unique and very nerdy gifts to buy someone for Christmas and you haven't already done your shopping, consider supporting your indie designers and indie sales and shops out there. And I think there's probably still a little bit of time right now if you order right now to get things in time for the holidays. So in order to have a safe holiday and also to give great gifts for your loved ones that are nerdy as well, because we're on Nerdist, definitely check out a few of those people. There's lots of different resources out there to find people who would normally have had booths at cons that didn't get to have any this year. So try to help support them. And also, yeah, you can listen to the Troubled Waters podcast on the Max Fun Network and my Doctor Who themed role-playing game podcast, The Game of Rassilon, which just finished our second season. So
Fantastic. And that's also a great message out there about all those indie designers and folks like that. We have a bunch of holiday gift guides up now on Nerdist, but if you just search on Twitter, there's always threads going around of people promoting their small businesses and stuff like that. So please, if you can avoid it, like if you're going to buy a book, even go to order from the author directly if they have a website, or go to an indie bookstore in your town. You don't have to go to Amazon. There's so many options out there. So consume responsibly and have a very happy holiday. And then last but not least, Jason, the soapbox is yours.
I'll add on to what Riley said by saying, please try to shop local as much as you can, because all the local mom and pop businesses are struggling more than ever before during the pandemic. And if you want them to be there when this is all over, do your best to try to buy from them if you can. And I will say that every Monday night at 7, so 4 hours from now, is my music show, Miller's Music Mondays. It's on my Twitch channel, which is my name, Jason Charles Miller. And it always features a new guest every week. I run it like a songwriter round. I play a song, my guest plays a song. We talk about adventures we've had together or things we've done. And then we go back and forth. And then every Tuesday at 1 on the CNE Games channel, Codename Games, I host a songwriting show called Bardic Inspiration, where we actually write a song with chat. It's really fun. So
that is super cool. Also, fantastic name. Thank you so much. And make sure you go check that stuff out. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I had so much fun. That's it for today's episode of Nerdist News Talks Back. Thank you again to everyone here on the panel, everyone who watched along with us at home. And yeah, I just really appreciate it. Make sure you check out today's episode of Nerdist Now. It is interviews with the cast of Godmothered, a new spin on a Christmas classic coming to Disney Plus later this week. And with that, we'll see you back here next Monday for a brand new episode of Nerdist News Talks Back at 2 p.m. Pacific, live on Nerdist YouTube channel and Geek and Sundry's Twitch channel. So until then, stay safe, be healthy, take care of yourselves, and have a great day. Bye-bye.